In a landscape of home coffee grinders largely dominated by single dosing and all-purpose designs, Mahlkonig has bucked that trend with their latest grinder, the E64 WS. With on-demand weight-based grinding and Mahlkonig's pioneering digital disc detection technology, this grinder is locked in on espresso grinding like few others I've seen. Welcome back to Whole Latte Love. I'm Nick, and today we'll be taking a look at the E64 WS grinder from Mahlkonig. I've spent more than my fair share of time with this grinder, so there's a lot I want to get into. I want to establish that this is a home espresso grinder, so ultimately it's going to live in your kitchen, not a cafe. That said, the technology inside the E64 WS originates from Mahlkonig's commercial products. Home grinders are still a relatively new endeavor from Mahlkonig, but they definitely brought their A game with this one. Recipe customization, by time or by weight, is just the beginning. Digital burr positioning, portafilter recognition, automatic grinding, and burr adjustment are just a few of the things we'll be talking about in this video. So, let's get into it. Who is Mahlkonig? So maybe it doesn't need to be said, but we haven't reviewed many of Mahlkonig's grinders on this channel. Yet, that is. But they're a German company who've been manufacturing grinders since the 1920s. They're known worldwide for their commercial coffee grinders, with their name translating more or less to King of Grinders. Only in recent years have they begun to invest more heavily into the development of home coffee grinders, with their all-purpose X54 dropping just a few years ago. As I mentioned in my intro, the E64 WS is a weight-based espresso grinder. Its form factor and core feature set is designed around grinding into portafilters, so I want to say at the outset that you'll have a very hard time trying to massage it into any other kind of workflow. Starting with the portafilter cradle, probably the first and one of the most important things you'll do with this grinder is to calibrate your portafilter. The top forks are fixed, while the bottom are height adjustable via a single Phillips head screw. Getting this right is important, as the grind by weight technology requires you to release the portafilter so that it can be properly taired for weight-based grinding. The E64 WS starts grinding automatically as soon as you let go of the portafilter. It's a bit of a Goldilocks affair, as you'll want to get the height just right for your portafilter. If it's too loose, it can rotate and slide from the vibration of the motor and fall out. Even in the time-based mode, the portafilter needs to be securely inserted into the grinder, as it still activates the grind cycle automatically. You can also adjust the position of the grind chute forward and backward in order to prevent coffee from piling up at the front of the portafilter. By default, the E64 WS will begin grinding whatever recipe you have currently selected, with the recipe's programmed weight or time displayed in the center of your screen, and your current recipe's icon next to the encoder knob on the right. In addition to grinding your programmed recipes, you can also grind manually by pressing and holding the top left button, which is conveniently labeled with a small hand icon next to it. When grinding manually, turning the encoder will adjust grind size manually as well. This is actually really important because it's the only way to adjust the grind finer while actively running the motor. For you more advanced users out there, you can also program your grinder to recognize which portafilter you're using to automatically select a grinding recipe. But we'll get into that in just a bit. For recipe customization, you have three options. From the home screen, you can make adjustments to either your dose or time and your disc distance. Now, I'm sure you've heard of dose. That's how much coffee you want to use, measured in grams by default, but also programmable by time. The other option, disc distance, is unique to Mahlkonig's grinders with their disc distance detection technology, and it refers to the distance between the top and bottom burrs in the grinder. Similar to grinders we've covered like the Chiato Rev and the Baratza Encore ESP, the E64 WS measures the distance between the burrs and returns it as a number displayed on the screen. The measurement is provided in microns and can be programmed into the recipes themselves. What that means is that if you change which brew recipe you're using, the grinder will automatically adjust burrs to the setting programmed for that recipe, which is absolutely wild. You'll also receive alerts for potential blockage if the new grind setting is considerably finer, so you can purge the grinder manually as needed. With that established, let's take a look at the full recipe menu, which can be accessed by pressing the bottom left button and navigating via the encoder to the Edit Recipes screen. You can have a total of 3 recipes at a time, and they can be edited by selecting them with the encoder. For that third option, if you've synced your grinder with the Mahlkonig Sync app, you can create and store any number of recipes that you can publish to the grinder at any time. First, you can select your grinding mode, either weight-based or time, with your dose and time following as your next option. You've got your shot type, single, double, or custom, and the icon you want to associate with the recipe. If you've added portafilters to your grinder, and believe me, we will, you can select which one is associated with this particular recipe. There's disc distance, again, aka grind size, which we just covered, and several additional options for connecting your recipe via the sync system to allow the grinder to communicate with a compatible machine or smart scale in order to self-adjust. Lastly, you can choose to hide the recipe from the screen altogether, which will also disable it from being selected when in Portafilter Detection mode. So, let's talk about that. So, how exactly does Portafilter Detection work? Well, within the Edit Recipes menu, you'll see an option to toggle Portafilter Detection and to add portafilters. Adding portafilter is easy. You just place it into the cradle and the grinder weighs it and stores its information. More importantly, you can set a tolerance for the portafilter between 0.5 and 10 grams. If you want the grinder to be more or less precise when it comes to recognizing a portafilter. Big differences like the number of spouts, or if you're using a bottomless portafilter, are easy for the grinder to recognize. But in my testing, the system was precise enough to be able to detect the difference in weight simply from me switching portafilter baskets. That's where setting an appropriate tolerance is key. If you're looking to use the same recipe for multiple baskets, giving the grinder a wider margin of error to work with is important. Alternatively, if you're the type to dial in by the basket, you can do that too. Just make sure to keep your portafilter clean. Once you've added your portafilter, you can assign it to a recipe. I do want to note that a recipe can have multiple portafilters assigned to it, but a portafilter can only be assigned to a single recipe. Back at the main menu, if you rotate the encoder to select Portafilter Detection, the E64 WS will automatically detect the portafilter you insert and choose the recipe associated with it. Now, this also changes the current grind size to match the selected recipe if needed. We're asked by customers all the time for help getting dialed in. So much so, in fact, we made a pretty popular video on the topic earlier this year if you want to check that out. With the E64 WS, Mahlkonig has done the seemingly unthinkable with their assisted dial-in feature. This grinder will actually help you dial itself in. You start by adding your roast level between light, medium, and dark, which you can also think of as high density to low density coffees, along with the parameters of your shot, like your dose, desired time, etc. So the grinder will automatically select an initial starting point for the burrs and ask you to pull a shot. You enter how long it took and, more importantly, if you liked it or not. Depending on the shot time, if you say, "No, I didn't like it," the E64 WS will adjust the burrs and ask you to pull another shot. In our own testing for particle distribution, we used the assisted dial-in out of curiosity. For CremoWave, the initial dial-in was more or less on the money for our desired median particle size of 250 microns. To add a few personal insights into the experience of using assisted dial-in, selecting the correct roast level is actually very important. When dialing in with our CremoWave decaf, I selected medium for roast level, when in actuality I should probably have selected dark instead. Ultimately, I had to pull around 6 shots before getting something within the specs I had input. That said, what's crucial is that the E64 WS asks the most important question when it comes to coffee. Do you like your shot? If the answer is yes, you can stop dialing in and enjoy your espresso. So, how does the E64 WS do on paper? Well, John and I hunkered down for some extended testing to get data on particle distribution, dosing consistency, grinding speed, and grind retention. Starting with particle distribution across multiple coffees, including light roast, medium roast, and decaf, with that median particle size again being 250 microns plus minus 10, we saw a strong concentration of particles at or below 200 microns, with a smooth linear decline into larger sizes. Light roasts showed the highest percentage of sub 200 micron particles. Medium roasts distributed more evenly between 200 and 300 microns. In the portafilter, grinds are fluffy with a slight tendency to pile up even with the metal flapper installed. Fortunately, the upper portion of the portafilter cradle makes it easy to sweep grinds back into the portafilter. We also brought Danilo Lodi back into the studio with us to experiment on dialing in with the E64 WS. We used our Crema Wave decaf, and after multiple rounds, settled on a recipe that balanced body, sweetness, and acidity that I'll include for you. It was around a 19.5 gram dose at a 2.2 ratio in 19 seconds plus or minus 3 seconds. Our total out was roughly 43 grams. In terms of dosing consistency, we ground 5 18-gram shots back-to-back with our 3 coffees. As you can see from the results of our testing, the coffee was dispensed within 0.1 grams of our target dose for our Crema Wave and Crema Wave decaf, with a maximum deviation of 0.2 grams when grinding our more dense Ethiopia. On occasion, I have seen higher deviations of up to 0.3 grams, but on average, the E64 WS's dosing is quite accurate. Now, for a home grinder, you're getting about as much speed as you're going to need. An 18-gram double shot averaged between 7 and 8.5 seconds, depending on the coffee. So, unless you've got to line out the door in your kitchen, that's going to be more than enough speed. From a build quality standpoint, the E64 WS is pretty impressive. The main body is powder-coated aluminum, and it's available in black and white. Just like the X54, the E64 WS is made in China, likely to help keep costs down with the considerable technology present inside the grinder. The buttons feel a little bit loose, but have a satisfying click, and the encoder provides enough tactile feedback to feel rather substantial when interacting with it. The screen is crisp and vivid, with a plain white color scheme accented by the occasional use of color. The 3-piece setup for navigation is intuitive and never feels overcomplicated. Your mileage, however, may vary when it comes to the bean hopper. On the one hand, it locks in on a series of 4 posts and has a heavy-duty metal slide. On the other, though, in order to fully close it, you will actually need to fully remove it, more or less, so it's difficult to cut the flow of beans if you simply want to grind out the coffee left in the chamber, as the hopper needs to be installed in order for you to run the motor. Accessing the burrs is fairly simple. Underneath the hopper are a pair of screws labeled with 360 degrees. Just loosen those and you can unlatch the top of the grinder. Loosen another 4 screws and you can remove the top burr to get full access to the grind's chamber. Inside are a set of 64mm flat steel burrs. Opening up the grinder also gives you access to the flappers for the grind chute, which can be removed for cleaning. As the first Mahlkonig grinder I've reviewed, I'm happy to say that the E64 WS impressed me quite a bit. The grind by weight functionality is always appreciated, but the marquee feature of this grinder is the disc distance detection system and the ability to program your grind settings per recipe. Having a grinder that adjusts itself and that can recognize grind recipes based on portafilters truly feels like the future of grinding has arrived here in the present. Aside from that, it's a good-looking, compact grinder with easy to access to everything you need in order to maintain it. If you're looking for an espresso-focused grinder, especially a weight-based one, the E64 might just be it. And that's our review of the Mahlkonig E64 WS. If there's anything I missed or that you need to know more about, let me know in the comments and I'll get you an answer. And if you're not subscribed, well, you know what to do. I'm Nick from Whole Latte Love. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.